Remember this game? No, this isn't Planet Coaster. This is RCT3. That's right, this is RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 running the NVIDIA RTX Remix software. NVIDIA RTX Remix allows users and developers to create mods for their favorite games to allow for full ray tracing. So far, RTX Remix only works for older games that run old versions of DirectX. And even if it did work with newer games, I don't think you would want it to, because in RCT3 I was getting around 20 frames per second. This software is very demanding. But it does work to some extent. As you can see, I have full ray tracing in RollerCoaster Tycoon 3. This RTX Remix project was created by a user named Hemry. You can find him on YouTube at Hemry81. I'll leave a link to his channel in the video description. And if you want to try this mod for yourself, you can find it in the NVIDIA RTX Remix Discord. Now, first and foremost, if you're going to try this for yourself, you're going to need a powerful computer. Your graphics card needs to support ray tracing, so it needs to be an RTX 2000 series and above. I ran this with an RTX 3080, and I still only got 20 frames per second. I wouldn't recommend really using anything below an RTX 3080. I'm not sure if AMD cards have support for NVIDIA RTX Remix, so you can try it, but I wouldn't really recommend it. So, like I said, I only get around 20 frames per second while running this. So, although performance is absolutely abysmal, it's still a really cool feature. I think adding a new technology like this to a really old game is so cool. This game hasn't really been touched since 2006, well, except for RCT3 Complete Edition. So breathing some new life into a really old game like this is so cool. NVIDIA themselves state that ray tracing works by tracing the path of light from the view camera through the 2D viewing plane out into the 3D scene and back into the light sources. Now, quoting NVIDIA again, another way to think of ray tracing is to look around you right now. The objects you're seeing are illuminated by beams of light. Now turn that around and follow the path of those beams backwards from your eye to the objects that light interacts with. That's ray tracing. NVIDIA RTX Remix was also used on the classic game Portal by Valve Software back in 2022. This RTX Remix project was developed directly by NVIDIA themselves. It received a pretty poor reception due to both the horrible performance on most computers and completely getting rid of the original game's art style. Now in the past year, NVIDIA has released the RTX Remix tools to the public, so any user or developer can now make RTX Remix projects on their own. Now the good news about this RTX Remix project by Hemry81 is that it keeps the original art style of RollerCoaster Tycoon 3. Now that might be a good thing or a bad thing depending what you think about RollerCoaster Tycoon 3. For me personally, I don't really care for the art style. I think the game looks kinda ugly. I think all of the in-game models look really bad when compared to the prior games like RollerCoaster Tycoon 2 and the games that come after like Planet Coaster. But that's just my opinion about the game. Now the bad news is the game performance and the many bugs. Now in terms of game performance, it's not great. Now when I had this scenario open, which is the first game scenario, one of the smallest scenarios, very small park with hardly anything in it, 2 coasters and a couple of rides, I was getting around 50 to 70 FPS. I also tried some custom scenarios. One was a Cedar Point 2016 recreation by RCT3_players. And I also tried an Islands of Adventure recreation called Brad's Islands of Adventure by RollerCoaster Creations. Now if you thought 50 FPS on a game from 2006 was bad, oh just wait. On these recreations I got around 10 to 20 FPS. The larger the park, the more ray tracing, the worse performance. It was awful, and keep in mind I have an RTX 3080, a very high-end GPU that supports ray tracing. So in short, performance is really bad. I had my game set to 1920 by 1080 resolution, and I had DLSS upscaling set to ultra performance, so it rendered the game at about like 400 by 400 pixels and then it upscaled it to 1080, and I was still getting 20 FPS. I don't think this has much to do with the developer or the project itself. I think this has to do solely with the technology. I played Portal with RTX about 2 years ago, which was officially developed and supported by NVIDIA. And trust me, the performance in that game was just as bad. NVIDIA is the company that created the RTX Ray Tracing software and is the one who's pushing it so much. So I think it's safe to say if the official RTX Remix software has just as bad performance as this one does, then the performance probably has little or nothing to do with the developer, and it's just the technology itself. Alright, now let's talk about the bugs. This project is very buggy, but this project was just released to the public by the developer, so cut him a little bit of slack. I'm sure most of these will be fixed in some time. So the first thing you're going to notice is that water is just completely broken. All the water in the game is just a solid white, no reflections, no movement, no anything, no texture, it's just white. Now I do know that the developer, Henry, is working on this because he posted a video in Discord of water working, and he stated that it was a work in progress. I think this game will look so cool once it has ray trace reflections in the water. Imagine like a big scenario with a lake and you see all the reflections of the rides that are ray traced in the water. Oh, that'll look so cool. Or imagine a water ride with ray trace reflections in the water. Oh, that'll be awesome. I am definitely going to come back to this project once the water is working again because that'll just look so cool. But as of right now, and as you can see in my footage, the water is just broken, so ignore that. No ray trace reflections yet, just ray traced lighting, but still, ray traced lighting is really cool. The next bug you'll notice are the paths. The paths just go invisible at random. If you move the camera just a tiny bit, the paths will just break. So in a lot of my footage, the paths are just gone, they're missing, but that's just another bug. I haven't seen the developer address this bug yet, but hopefully it'll be addressed in time. Now the biggest and most game-breaking bug in this RTX Remix project is the fact that some UI elements just don't appear or don't work. So for example, you can't build coasters, you can't go through the tutorial, certain menu items just don't work. So with this mod, you can't really play the base game, you can't really go through any levels, you can't complete any campaigns. You can basically just admire your old scenarios, but this time with RTX lighting. You can just look at them and that's about it. And the worst bug I've experienced is the crashing. I've been trying to get this footage together for about 4 days. It's taken me forever. About 80% of the time I launch the game, it crashes, and about 50% of the time I open a level, it crashes as well. It is a struggle to get this game running consistently. If I take a screenshot while I'm in the game, it also crashes. It's been difficult, but I have enough footage now, I think. So what's the benefit of using this RTX Remix mod in RollerCoaster Tycoon 3? Well, quite frankly, it's just the visuals. Ray tracing is a very modern technology, and in a lot of cases, it looks a lot nicer than the game's old lighting from 2006. So depending on the park, it could be a huge graphical improvement. And if this project is able to get ray traced reflections in the water like it seems the developer is working on, it'll look even better. So the benefit to RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 RTX is the amazing ray traced lighting and the hopefully soon to be ray traced reflections, because those look amazing and I really hope to see them in this game. Is this at all a remaster or a replacement for the original game? Absolutely not. Like I said, many UI elements are just missing entirely, and at times the game is completely unplayable. It constantly crashes and performance is awful. This is basically just some eye candy for fans of RCT3. It looks nice, but that's about it. I've had a really fun time making this video. I've really enjoyed looking at and investigating this project because it breathes new life into one of my favorite games from my childhood. Now I did get pretty frustrated by how many times the game crashed and how many issues I had with the game, but I am still really glad to see this project. I really hope this video is able to help get the developer and the project itself the attention they both deserve. I hope to see development continue on this project, and hopefully in a couple months when I come back to it, all the bugs will be fixed and it'll be better than before. Who knows, maybe this project can fulfill my dreams of a RollerCoaster Tycoon 4 with ray tracing. I know it wouldn't be the real thing, but I can pretend, and it would be so cool. So if you're interested at all in this project, go check it out on the RTX Remix Showcase Discord. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. I plan on making an update video to this in a couple of weeks as development continues, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to let me know your thoughts about RCT3 RTX down in the comments below, and like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.